Adebayo reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Welcome into the All Things Mavs podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Crowther, and this is my first audio-video podcast that I got going on the All Things Mavs channel, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. This isn't going to be my normal setup, but it's what we're doing tonight, fresh off the 93-83 win. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, appreciate you guys, but go check me out on YouTube, All Things Mavs by Jimmy Crowther. That's where you can find me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because now it's 2021 and I got the camera set up ready to go. So we're doing a lot more video podcasts just like this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And we're going to be breaking down the Dallas Mavericks victory over the Miami Heat. Victory number 2 for the Mavs and their first win in the new City Edition uniform. So you know what I had to do? I had to break out the new City Edition hat that I got. Yep, fresh in time for Christmas right off the win. It's a good feeling. I mean, look, we're going to break down the win, talk about it a little bit more because the Mavs, they played great all around. Now, quarter number 1, ugly as all get out. I mean, just super ugly. They scored 20 points, but they held the Miami Heat to 16 points. And, hey, that's kind of a win, I guess, because defensively they looked pretty darn good. But for the most part, man, that first quarter was forgettable. But that second quarter, on the other hand, the Dallas Mavericks won it 26-15. If you're wondering what I'm looking at off to the side here, this is my computer with all my stats and everything, all my notes as well. And I got to tell you what, Mavs coming off a slow game against the Charlotte Hornets after blowing out the Los Angeles Clippers. Now they come in and they beat the Miami Heat by 10 and hold them to 83 points. You got to feel good about that, no matter how ugly it might have been in the first half of that game. And I'm pretty hyped about it. I'm just glad we got another win in the books. They're 2-3. If you listen to my last podcast, I said I'm not hitting panic mode unless the Mavs end up losing 2 of their next 3 games. Then I'll hit panic mode. And I thought one of the losses would have been to this Miami Heat team because the Mavs have the Bulls coming up, and then they have another game after that in a back-to-back to the Houston Rockets. And I was like, look, if the Mavs lose to the Heat and then beat the Bulls and the Rockets, I'm okay. But it didn't happen. The Mavs beat the Miami Heat by 10. So I'm going to break down the box score and then talk about things I liked and then things that I still want to see some improvement on and guys who didn't really impress me all that much in this game. So let's get into the box score real quick for the Dallas Mavericks. And some people were asking me if we could also do the away box score, so I'll do the opponent box score as well. I'll tell you about the Miami Heat and how they look tonight because, in all honesty, I wasn't impressed. But the Miami Heat haven't been playing good basketball. They're 2-3 just like the Dallas Mavericks are. But here's what you got for the Mavs. Leading scorer of the night, Luka Doncic, 27 points, 15 boards, and 7 assists. Only 5 turnovers on the night. I say only 5 turnovers, not great. Could have cleaned that up a little bit. 18 points from Tim Hardaway Jr., 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. He was the leading scorer for a majority of the game. 12 points and 5 boards for Dorian Finney-Smith. 11 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds for Josh Richardson, who had a quietly really good night, although he didn't score that well in tonight's game. 8 points, 3 boards, 2 steals for James Johnson off the bench, and all 8 of those points came in the second quarter when he actually started the second quarter for the Dallas Mavericks. 8 points for Trey Burke, 3 rebounds, 5 points, 4 boards for Maxi Kleber, 2 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals for Jalen Brunson off the bench. And then Dwight Powell actually had his best rebounding night of the season, so a little applause there for Dwight Powell. Had 8 boards, but he had 2 points, and he missed 2 free throws, 2 of 4. Guys, we're not going to talk about Dwight Powell every night on this show because if we do that, we're going to drive ourselves crazy. But I was listening to the radio. I actually was driving in. I missed the very beginning of the first quarter because I was listening to Chuck Cooperstein on the radio, and I heard Brad Townsend on there. He was getting interviewed, and they were like, what do you think about Dwight Powell? Do you think he should be starting? And his answer was basically this. Look, Rick Carlisle's not going to change the starting lineup until Kristaps Porzingis comes back because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to start mixing up the lineup when KP is going to be back in, a week or 2 weeks. Which I kind of understand. But when you lose 3 of your first 5 games, something's got to change. And that change could have been Dwight Powell. But we're not going to talk about that because the Mavs won tonight, so it didn't really matter that much that Dwight Powell did start this game. Now for the Miami Heat, 19 points for Bam Adebayo and 11 rebounds. Guess who was guarding him a majority of the game? His name rhymes with Schmite Powell. 11 points for Tyler Hero, 10 points for Goran Dragic, 10 points for Precious Achiuwa, 15 points off the bench for Avery Bradley, 3 points for Andre Iguodala, 5 points from Duncan Robinson, and the Mavs held Jimmy Butler to 2 points. 2 points on the night. Now, he's coming off a bum ankle, and maybe that had to do with it. Maybe it messed with his rhythm a little bit. Maybe he rushed himself back into play. But Dorian Finney-Smith, another round of applause, because Dorian Finney-Smith guarded the heck out of Jimmy Butler. He looked incredible. Now, he did pick up 4 fouls early in the third quarter. 10 seconds into the third quarter, Dorian Finney-Smith got his fourth foul, and so that kept him out for quite a little bit. But the rest of the night throughout it, I mean, he looked pretty darn good. But let's talk about the star of the game. The man who finally found his rhythm tonight, Luka Doncic. And I'm not going to lie, the first half I was a little scared. In fact, the first quarter, he did not look good. Looked out of rhythm once again. But he came into the game, and the Heat kept throwing different defenders at him, just all over the place. I mean, they were throwing Iguodala at him, they threw Avery Bradley at him, they threw Jimmy Butler at him. Everybody had a shot at Luka tonight. But no matter who was on him, he got to the bucket at will, and he did what he needed to do. And I was happy about that. Luka, 27 points, as I mentioned, 15 boards, 7 assists. He probably could have had 12 assists if people would have made their shots tonight, but the three-point shooting still wasn't great. 12 of 37 from 3. James Johnson went 2 of 2. Maxi went 1 of 3. Trey Burke went 0 for 1. Josh Richardson 1 for 5. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Luka both went 3 of 10. Dorian Finney-Smith 2 of 5. And then Dwight Powell 0 for 1. Dwight Powell, for the love of God, please stop shooting threes. Just don't do it. Please just don't do it. We don't want you to, man. I mean, look, just don't. It's just not going to work, okay? We've learned that. Anyway, enough Dwight Powell talk. Luka took a lot of shots to get his confidence back. And he made 3 threes on the night. Now, he shot 10. He shot a ton. But coming into the game with as little confidence as he had, I'm happy that he jacked those up. I'm happy that he took those threes to kind of find his rhythm once again. Y'all saw, and I should have posted the video on my All Things Mavs channel, but y'all saw Luka stayed for 45 minutes after that loss to the Hornets and just worked on his shot and worked on coming off screens and getting his shot off. So let the man shoot. Is it working that well? No, not right now, but he was getting to the lane well. He knew his role and he drove well. But when he shot those threes, he shot them with confidence. And that's all you can ask for right now in Luka Doncic. Because coming into the game, he was shooting 9% from 3. 9. Not 19, not 90, 9% from 3. So you kind of needed him to take those threes, and I'm glad that he did it, and he made 3 of them. He was a plus 12 in the box score. Tim Hardaway Jr. was the best plus-minus at plus 17. Maxi behind Luka, or right in front of Luka for the second best at plus 13. But man, 3 things that I loved about Luka. Number 1 was the confidence in his jump shot, even though it hasn't been good. I know his bread and butter is at the rim and drawing fouls, and he drew a lot of fouls. He went 6 of 9 from 3, or from the free throw line, which, again, his free throw shooting, the fact that he's shooting, I believe, above 80% from the free throw line right now bodes well for his three-point shooting. You know, when you look at guys coming out of college, you look at their free throw percentage to see if they're going to translate to be a good three-point shooter in the NBA. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work out that way. I mean, there's some guys that can shoot free throws, but will never shoot a three-pointer in their life. DeAndre Jordan, when he was with the Mavs, shot good free throw percentage, but wouldn't have taken a 3. And so Luka, his free throws are falling. So it's just getting his legs under him and getting that confidence back in his three-point shot. And we started to see that come around tonight. Another thing, the second thing I really liked about Luka, his defense. Man, when are we going to start talking about Luka being an underrated defender? I know he's never going to be an all-defensive guy. Probably ever. Like, if we're being honest, he'll probably never be an all-defensive guy. But he's a good defender. He's not a negative on defense. I'm not going to bring up Trae Young, but I am. The reason that another part of that argument, besides the fact that, you know, Luka has 3 years of success, or 2 years of success built up under his resume already, is also that Luka can hold his own against good players. He played good defense on Jimmy Butler. He played good defense on Tyler Hero. He played decent defense on Duncan Robinson at times as well. He can defend guys. He doesn't get blown by anymore. Now, the third thing I liked, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, he got to the rim at will. It was easy for him, no matter who was guarding him. He made it look easy, and he drove to the rim, and it worked out really well in his favor. I'm happy with Luka Doncic's performance tonight. I'm happy with the team as a whole. Let's talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. for a second, and Josh Richardson, because I know that I've talked about on this podcast and on the show how, you know, some nights Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be your number 3 guy, and some nights Josh Richardson is going to be your number 3 guy. Well, obviously right now, one of them has to play the 2 until Kristaps Porzingis comes back. And if one of them is on, at least once a night and the other one's off, that's fine. I'm going to live with that. I'm going to be okay with that. And Tim Hardaway Jr. tonight was on. 18 points, 6 of 18 from the field. He got to the rim well, and he shot the ball well. He took 10 3-pointers, but he knocked down the ones that really mattered. He missed a couple in some more garbage time moments, although there wasn't a lot of garbage time because the Heat did make it interesting there at the end. But I was happy with Tim Hardaway Jr.'s night tonight, and if we can get that roll with him, and I think my boy Nick Angstead tweeted this out, but even without Kristaps Porzingis, if Tim Hardaway Jr. is hitting his jumpers, that offense is unstoppable. And then Josh Richardson, let's talk about him for a second. You heard the stat line at the top, 11 points, 3 assists. He did have 2 turnovers and 3 rebounds as well. Not a great night for him. But he took shots when they mattered, and he made shots when they mattered, especially from the mid-range. And I think that's something that this Dallas Maverick team doesn't really have a lot of. I think we thought we'd get more of it from Trey Burke. He hasn't been incredible to start the season. In fact, I've been a little disappointed with Trey Burke overall, although he did have a decent night tonight with 8 points, 4 of those coming at the free throw line. But that mid-range game and that mid-range playmaking is coming from Josh Richardson, and he's proving valuable in that sense, and I think he will continue to prove his value in that way. Defensively, again, he was a primary defender. Actually, Dorian Finney-Smith was the primary defender on Jimmy Butler, but there were times when Josh Richardson got tasked with him, or he got tasked with Tyler Hero. Hero, 11 points, 5 of 11 from the field. Jimmy Butler, 2 points. There were times when he was guarding Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson had 5 points, 1 of 8 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3, and he was shooting 45% from 3 coming into the game. That's pretty darn good. I'm pretty excited about that. And again, this team is going to look so much different with Kristaps Porzingis. But if they can get this version of their defensive identity every single night, they're going to be great. Now, 93 points from the Mavs. I don't want to get on the negatives here because it's a win, and a win is a win is a win. But 93 points ain't going to cut it when it gets down to the nitty-gritty. So I need some more offense. I need better offense here. I mean, 41% from the field, 32% from 3. Offensively, nothing was great, but defensively, everything was incredible. The rebounding game, I didn't even look at the rebounding numbers. The Mavs had 49 rebounds. The Heat had 41. You win the rebounding game, you usually win the game as a whole. I was pretty happy with that. Let's talk about another guy that I was happy with. Can we please get James Johnson some more minutes? He played 12 minutes tonight. Majority of those came in the second quarter when he started the second quarter. And he hit 2 threes. At that time, he was the only Maverick that had made a 3. Now, later on in the game, Maxi made 1. Luka made 3. Tim made 3. Dorian Finney-Smith made 2. But James Johnson, again, I'll say it again, second or third best playmaker on this team. Maybe third behind Josh Richardson. Trey Burke on given nights, Jalen Brunson on given nights. But for the most part, James Johnson is the second or third best playmaker on this team. But he's only got 12 minutes tonight. And now, I want to say this in defense of Rick Carlisle before you guys all attack him in the comment section, because I know you will, because people even can't be happy after a win. One thing I think about James Johnson, remember, he was coming off of a little injury in training camp. He had a knee problem, and he is older. He's one of the older guys on this team. I mean, I say older. I think he's 33. But I think they're still working his conditioning back, and when it's 100% back, I think he'll be closer to that 15 to 20 minute threshold and not limited to 12 or less minutes like he played tonight, 12 minutes. Also 3 of 5 from the field. I mean, it was an efficient night. He also had 2 steals, 8 points. So I love James Johnson, man. I am very, very excited about him on this team. He just got a $40,000 fine for going in and fighting both the Martin brothers for absolutely no reason. I still don't even know what happened there. I just saw him shove them, and then they got into it, and James Johnson probably would have murdered both of them if the refs didn't step in. So good for the Martin brothers that they didn't get murdered by James Johnson. But the dude brings a mental toughness that this team doesn't have. He's always talking on the bench. He is always up when there's a bad call. He's always up when somebody's ready to get in somebody's face. He is there to set the tone on both the offensive end and the defensive end. I love James Johnson. I think he deserves more minutes when he's 100% healthy. Maybe he's not there yet, but I think he's working his way into that role. I'm also really happy that he started the second quarter. I think that shows that Rick is learning to trust other guys a little bit more. Not going to talk about Dwight Powell anymore. There's just nothing to talk about. Willie Cauley-Stein, look, for guys like me who love Willie Cauley-Stein truthers, it wasn't a great night for him. He didn't score. He had 3 rebounds. There were a couple possessions where he just looked lost defensively. He also had 2 turnovers. He had a couple. I think sometimes Willie Cauley-Stein gets into this mindset that he's also like a point center, and he's not. So when he tries to make these passes, they don't really work out. I mean, if you're a center and you have 2 turnovers and no assists, that's a bad look. Not a great night for him, but I'm not that worried about it. Maxi, great defensively, didn't take a lot of shots, only took 3, made one of his 3-pointers. He also knocked down 2 free throws, had 4 boards. I love Maxi Kleber, but can't say enough about the guy. And one thing I really liked, and I know I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, and I promise some of these video podcasts, maybe I'll have some more structure, but right now I'm just kind of spitballing here. Maxi and Dwight Powell off the bench together. When they're in the lineup together, Dwight Powell looks a whole lot better. And that's what I think I'd like to see when KP comes back. Would be Porzingis, Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, THJ, and Luka in the starting 5. And bring Maxi and Dwight off the bench together. And also play James Johnson maybe a little bit more with the starting unit. And maybe bring Dorian in with the backup unit every once in a while. Mix it up a little bit. Right now, the only guys that I'm a little bit down on this team from this game, Willie Cauley-Stein, from this game alone. I'm still high on Willie Cauley-Stein, but tonight, not very good. Not a great night from Jalen Brunson once again. He did a lot in the box score, but he's just kind of a black hole sometimes on offense. And then Dwight Powell. Sorry, Dwight. Just didn't work out well for you. But overall, I'm pretty encouraged by this game. It's another Maverick victory. For those of you that got in the comments and made the prediction for the Miami Heat Mavs score, nobody won. Nobody guessed the score correctly, so nobody gets $10 from me. But I'm going to up the ante. Every game where nobody gets it right, I'll start adding $1 to that total. So for the Bulls game, when the Mavs take on the Chicago Bulls, as I check on the schedule here, that's going to be January 3rd. So they'll have Saturday off. That'll be Sunday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. Get to the comment section on YouTube. Make your prediction. If somebody correctly predicts the Mavs versus Bulls score in the comments on YouTube, I'll Venmo you $11. We're going to go up $1 every single game until somebody gets it right. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know how you like the new video style of the podcast. I promise there'll be some more structure, and also this setup with all, this is actually all my dad's random artwork back here, along with some Dallas Maverick dominoes. I'm sure you guys like seeing this. If you're just listening to the audio, I'm sure you're very confused. Go check me out on YouTube. But that being said, Mavs are 2-3. They finally got a win. They have 2 very winnable games coming up against the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls. And I'm feeling good about this team defensively. Not to mention, I think we're going to see Kristaps Porzingis in the next 10 days. I could be right. I could be wrong. I don't really know anything. But all I know is that I'm happy the Mavs are back in the win column, baby. So let's get to it. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on Apple or Spotify or wherever you guys get your podcast. Also, make those predictions in the comment section of the Chicago Bulls versus Dallas Mavericks score. And as always, go Mavs, baby.